internet. Today I'm going to be doing my fairly short October wrap-up and my November TBR. Now, October was a bit of a struggle for reading for me just because the first book I read in October was so long that it took me 2 weeks to read, and then I attempted to do a readathon. I attempted to do Spookathon, but it fell on a really busy week for me, so I just didn't do very well. Same goes for Dewey's 24-hour readathon. I don't know, it was just a weird reading month for me. I only got 4 books read, which I'm not upset about. I mean, I got 4 books read in a month. That's still really good. I did want to do a little bit better though. So anyway, I'm going to talk about the books that I read this month. The first book I read this month is one of the reasons why I didn't get a whole lot read this month, but I'm so glad that I finally read it, and that book is Winter by Marissa Meyer. This is the 4th and final book to the Lunar Chronicles, which is a series that I really like. The Lunar Chronicles is basically different sci-fi retellings of fairy tales, and all of the characters' stories intertwine. Each book kind of adds new characters to it, and so this was the last book in that series. The first one is Cinder, and then you have Scarlet, Cress, and then Winter. I really liked this series, and this book was definitely my favorite in the series. It doesn't look like it, but this book is actually about 820 pages or so. The paper is really thin, so it took me a while to read it, but it's one that I've been wanting to get to for months. It's been on many monthly TBRs, and I'm so glad that I finally got to it. I absolutely loved it, and I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Once Upon a Time, Red's Untold Tale by Wendy Tolliver, and so this is a book that is inspired by the TV show Once Upon a Time, which is one of my all-time favorite TV shows. I'm so obsessed with it, and I love the character of Red, so I was really excited to read this, and it was okay. It definitely didn't live up to the TV show. It was not nearly as good as the TV show. The flashbacks didn't work as well as it does on the TV show, and the plot was a little eh. However, I really loved the character development. I loved seeing the relationship between Red and Peter, because that's something we don't really get to see a whole lot of in the TV show. So I still ended up really enjoying this book. I also just want to show you what it looks like naked, because it's got this beautiful design on it, and I just love it. And then the pages are black, like 6 of Crows. I ended up giving this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. And I read the last half of that book during Spookathon, and it was actually the only book that I finished during Spookathon. The next book I started during Spookathon and read most of it during Spookathon, but I did not finish it, and that book is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. And this book takes a very interesting turn on the vampire thing that is extremely popular in YA, or at least it was at one point. I really love what Holly Black did with the vampire storyline. She made it very different and unlike anything I'd ever seen. I feel like this book is a bit of a thriller, so I don't really want to go a whole lot into the plot, because I feel like it would be more fun to not know a whole lot about this going into it. But I will say, I really loved the spin that Holly Black put on the whole vampire storyline. I thought it was really interesting. The only complaint I really had about this book is that it gets really slow in the middle, which is why I wasn't able to finish it during Spookathon, because I just couldn't make myself get through it. Even though I enjoyed the story, it just got really slow. The beginning I thought was really interesting, and then it got super slow, and then around the last maybe 100 pages or so, it really picked up again. Overall, I really did enjoy this book though. I thought it was perfect for Spookathon. I wish I would have been able to finish it. It was perfect read for October for sure, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. And then the last book I read in the month of October, I technically started during Spookathon, but I only read about 15 pages or so, and then I finished it actually on Halloween night. And that book is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and this is the Word Cloud Classics edition, which I collect a lot of those. If you didn't know, I made a whole video about it. I'll put that link in the description. But this book was very strange, but not in a bad way. I feel like everybody kind of has an idea of the story of Frankenstein, but most people think of the horror movie adaptations of it, and those adaptations have been changed so much throughout the years that they're very different from the original novel. And so I wasn't really expecting this story to be what it was, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. It didn't have as much of a horror aspect to it, at least as much as I was expecting until maybe kind of towards the end. But even without the total horror aspect of it, it was definitely a creepy book, and I really enjoyed Mary Shelley's writing style. It was fairly easy to follow. It just, the story wasn't really what I was expecting it to be, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm really glad that I read this. I've been wanting to read it for a while and ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. And that's all I really got read in October. I don't really expect to get a whole lot read in November either, just because I'm doing NaNoWriMo for the first time this month, which I'm very excited about. But a lot of the time that I normally spend reading is going to be spent writing this month. I'm still going to be reading, definitely. I read every night before bed, and I'm going to make time for reading, but I'm not expecting to complete very many books this month either. I've still kind of got a bigger TBR, but it's more because these are the books that I want to choose from this month, and then whatever I don't finish this month will probably go over into my December TBR. First off, I'll start with what I'm currently reading, and really I'm just still reading both Little Women by Louisa May Alcott and Persuasion by Jane Austen, and I want to finish at least one of these this month. I have 2 new releases that I want to read this month, the first of which is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and this is the second book in the Illuminae Files series. I'm not sure how many books are going to be in this series, but it's a companion series, and it is a YA sci-fi series. I liked Illuminae. I had a hard time kind of getting into the format, but once I did, I ended up really enjoying the story, and so I'm very curious to see how that goes over in Gemina. I know that it follows different characters than Illuminae did, but it still deals with the same problem. I'm not a huge sci-fi person, which I also think may be why I didn't enjoy Illuminae as much as a lot of people did, but I'm still really looking forward to reading Gemina, and I'm actually going to an event with Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff in Nashville at Parnassus, and Victoria Schwab is actually going to be moderating the event, so I'm very excited. And so I will be picking up my copy of Gemina there and then reading it at some point this month. I also am really looking forward to reading Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Marissa Meyer is the author of the Lunar Chronicles, and this is her first standalone, I believe, and it is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, but it's about the Queen of Hearts. I'm really excited about it. I've heard good things from people who got advanced copies, and I'm really excited to read it. I'm probably going to read it as soon as I get my hands on it. Along the same lines of Marissa Meyer, I also really would like to read Stars Above, and this is different novellas, I believe, of the Lunar Chronicles. I think some of them take place before different books. I also believe that there's an epilogue to Winter in here. And this is fairly short, so I would like to get to this at some point this month, so that way I can say I have completely finished the Lunar Chronicles series through and through. I also still really want to read A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. This book has been on my TBR for several months, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But I think this is going to be my next read because I really just want to get to it. I want to be caught up on the Shades of Magic series before I go to the event next week, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to start this one probably tonight. And this is the sequel to A Darker Shade of Magic, which is an adult fantasy book. I believe it's going to be a trilogy, and the next one comes out sometime around the beginning of next year. I'm really looking forward to getting to this one. If you can't tell, I didn't really say this at the beginning of the video, but since I know I'm not going to get a whole lot read this month, I want to really focus my TBR this month on catching up with books I've been putting on my TBR and putting off, and the books I'm currently reading that I've been reading for a while, and then also just kind of catching up on series that I've started but haven't really read more of yet. So another book that falls into that last category is Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, and this is the second book in Leigh Bardugo's Grisha trilogy. And I wanted to read Crooked Kingdom last month, which is the sequel to Six of Crows, and it takes place in the same universe as the Grisha trilogy. And even though you don't have to have read the Grisha trilogy to enjoy Six of Crows, I've been advised that I will get more out of Crooked Kingdom if I finish the Grisha trilogy first, so I'm gonna do that. So I definitely want to read at least Siege and Storm this month, if not the third book. We'll see how it goes. And this is the second book in the trilogy. The first one is Shadow and Bone, and I really enjoyed it. Not as much as Six of Crows, but I still really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this series goes. I am also hoping to get to City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare, which is the second book in the Mortal Instruments series. I've read City of Bones twice now. I reread it this year because I couldn't really remember a whole lot about it. So I want to start continuing on with the series before that happens again. I enjoyed City of Bones. It wasn't like the greatest book in the world, but I know a lot of people really like this series, so I definitely want to continue and give it a chance and figure out what all of the hype is around Cassandra Clare's books. And the last book on my TBR for this month is one that was on my BOOKTUBE-a-thon TBR, actually. It's the only book that I didn't start that week, so again, with the whole trying to catch up on some TBR books that I never got around to. And that book is Vengeance Road by Erin Bowman. And I don't know a whole lot about the plot of this one, but I know that it is a YA Western, which I have never heard of there being another YA Western. I think that's really interesting. I've never actually read a Western, so I'm really curious to read this one. Also, look at that cover. It is gorgeous. It just screams fall to me. I don't know. I guess it's the colors. So I really want to read this month and knock off another book on a random TBR that I never got to. So that's it for my November TBR. I know I'm not going to be able to read all those books, but I'm going to read as many of them as I can and try to write a book this month. We're going to see how it goes. I will be vlogging during NaNoWriMo, so I will be uploading some of those this month, depending on how much footage I collect. There are probably going to be at least 2 NaNoWriMo vlog videos, so be on the lookout for those if that's something that you're interested in. Let me know down in the comments if you're doing NaNoWriMo this month and if you've read any of the books I mentioned and what you thought about it. Of course, keeping the thoughts spoiler free. And that's going to be it for this video, and I'll see you guys next time with another video. Bye!